Hello everyone, welcome back to Tanisha's Concept Corner. So in physics we were doing the chapter the ray optics and optical instruments, and in our last session we covered till the demonstration for total internal reflection. So now let us see its applications. So first thing is prisms. So prisms are designed in such a way that they are going to bend light by 90 degrees or 180 degrees, and they will be making use of this total internal reflection. So if you see over here total angle is 90 degrees, so the light is bending by this 90-degree angle. Now we are going to get inverted images. Like if I present an object over here, I am going to get an image which will be inverted. Here also the image is inverted, here also the image is inverted, but it will be of same size as the object. Now generally for these kind of prisms, what is happening, the critical angle which is there, it is going to be less than 45, approximately 42 degree it will be there. So we know the condition for total internal reflection, that our angle of incidence should be more than the critical angle, then only total internal reflection will happen. So that's why I'm presenting it at 45 degree. This is the normal, this side it is 45, this side also it is 45, because angle of incidence is same as angle of reflection. Then 45 degree together it is 90 degree bending, but angle of incidence is 45, which is greater than 42. Approximately critical angle can be 42. So because it's greater than critical angle, you will observe total internal reflection, it's not getting refracted out. Then next application we see is optical fibers, where they are like this long tube where they can transmit the audio and video signals. So it is used for these purposes, and it is also using this total internal reflection, and they are generally fabricated with a glass or quartz fibers. So with that fibers they are fabricated, and there is something called as core and cladding. If you see over here, these are the optical fiber, and core is the interior part, then cladding will be the external part. Generally core is having more refractive index than the cladding. So it is in such a way. Now signal will be in form of light, obviously it will be undergoing total internal reflection throughout this long tube, and finally the signals will get transmitted to the other end. Now it undergoes repeated total internal reflection along the length, and since it undergoes the total internal reflection, there will be no loss. That is the main purpose of this optical fibers. If it is undergoing total internal reflection, the any amount of light, any amount of energy will not get refracted out, so it won't be lost, it won't be wasted basically. So that is why we are designing it in such a way that the surface wherever the light is striking, the angle will be larger than the critical angle. We are designing it in such a way so that it will be larger than critical angle, then it will undergo total internal reflection, then no energy or no light will be lost through refraction, it won't be wasted. Now they can be used as an optical pipe. A bundle of optical fibers can be put for several uses. Mainly we can transmit and receive any kind of electrical signals, and also we can use them as a light pipe, where you can in case of hospitals and all, they're going to examine your organs, then they can use this light pipe optical fiber using total internal reflection in order to get a better view of the esophagus, stomach and intestines. They are going to use these tools. And also any kind of decorative lamp we will be seeing, they are also glowing with light whenever you're turning on the switch or anything. So that is also because of this optical fibers, and their light is passing through it. Now this fabricated optical fibers is that there should be very little absorption of light. They shouldn't absorb a lot of light, or they shouldn't just waste it through refraction. So that is the main requirement for optical fibers. So for achieving that, we are designing it in certain way. We are making special preparation by using these kind of fibers, quartz and glass fibers we are using. And if you take this silica glass fiber, it is able to transmit more than 95% of light over this fiber length of 1 kilometer. So our optical fibers should be in such a way that they should be able to transmit any kind of energy, audio waves, video ones, towards a long distance, and any sorts of wastage of energy should not happen, and absorption also should not happen more. So for that is the reason why we use glass fibers, quartz fibers, and mainly we are using this total internal reflection. So this is another application given to us. Now, refraction at spherical surfaces and by lenses. Till now we have seen refraction through that glass slab, which is like a plane interface. Now we will be seeing spherical surfaces and lenses. So if we look over here, there will be like a true transparent media where there is the spherical interface. It can be a mirror and light can refract through that. And we can normally follow the laws of refraction only here also. Normal laws of refraction only will work over here. The Snell's law will also work over here. Only thing is that whenever we are taking normal, just like we took in case of normal spherical mirror for reflection, we said that normal should be taken along the center of curvature. It should pass so that it will be like a tangent at the spherical surface. It will be perpendicular to that. If we look at here, through the center of curvature, this normal will pass, and here this is curved, right? You can just draw tangent over here so that it will be like a straight line, and the normal will be perpendicular. It will be 90 degree. So generally if it is a spherical surface, we are drawing tangents to get that straight line, and the normal should pass through the center of curvature and it will be perpendicular. So that's the only scenario over here. Rest always all the laws of refraction will work over here also. Then we can consider the refraction by the first spherical surface, and then we can follow with the thin lenses also. And lens meaning they will be they are also a transparent optical medium where there will be two surfaces. At least one of them should be spherical. Over here we are learning both of them spherical only, but one time it can be like one surface is completely straight like a plane and other surface will be curved. So like that lenses are also possible, but here we will learn where both of them will be spherical, and we can derive the lens maker's formula and lens formula. So let us go through. First let's see this spherical surface where we are taking a convex mirror. First we will see through this, then we will go through the lens. So here we can see that there is a spherical surface, and then there will be like a separating two different media. Then how is the refraction happening? So here the object is there, the ray will be going like this and it gets refracted over here, and as already mentioned, normal should be drawn from the center of curvature. Then between the incident ray and normal you'll get the angle of incidence. Between the refracted ray and the normal you get the angle of refraction. And this is radius of curvature. This will be the object distance, this will be the image distance. We all know this, and always mention this while writing your answer, saying that we will consider the aperture, the diameter should be less, and also we will consider them to be para-axial rays where they will be very near to the pole. We are taking like this kind of small diameter, small apertures and para-axial rays where they are near to the pole. We are taking that because we can make approximations so that we get the angles which are over here very small. If we get angles as really small, then tan theta or sin theta, anything can be directly rounded off as just theta only. And here also, because this is spherical, we cannot consider it as a straight line, no, because here if you have to work with trigonometry, we need to get a triangle. But here this is curved surface. That's why if we take the aperture, if we take the diameter to be very small, then we can consider this as a straight line, as a perpendicular. That's why they will keep saying to take this as small angles so that we can make such kind of approximations. So now see, first thing we have taken is tan angle NOM. So if we consider NOM, what will it be? Opposite divided by adjacent. So it should be NM divided by OM. Next we are taking tan angle NCM. NCM if we take, again opposite divided by adjacent, so it should be NM divided by MC. Then tan angle NIM, again opposite divided by adjacent, NM divided by MI. Now here you can directly write off angle NCM is equal to MN by MC by only mentioning a thing that because we are considering the angles to be really small, tan angle NCM can be approximately equal to angle NCM. So angle NCM is equal to this. Without mentioning tan, we can write that off. Now if we see triangle NOC, this triangle NOC, angle I is an exterior because it's out of the triangle, and in our younger grades we have learned that when there is this exterior angle, it can be equal to the sum of this opposite interior angles. So that is what we are using over here, angle NOM, this angle plus angle NCM If you do, you are going to get angle I because it is exterior to this triangle. That is one property we have used over here. Then angle R is said to be NCM minus NIM. Now if you see over here, how we got this is actually, if you see here, now this entire angle can be 180 degree. Consider this triangle, NCI triangle. There is R angle, there is NI, this is actually M according to this diagram. So if you consider this NCI triangle, you have this angle R along with NIM, and then we have NCI. So if we look over here, because this is 180 degree, to get NCI, can I write it as 180 minus NCM? This total is 180 degrees. So to get NCI, I am writing it as 180 minus NCM. This is actually M according to our diagram. And this angle is nothing but NIM. So plus NIM, and then we have plus R. This all is equal to 180 degree. Because it's a triangle, all the angles should be added to 180 degree. R, NIM, and this is total 180 degrees. So to get this particular angle, I have subtracted 180 minus NCM. Now this 180 can get cancelled. If you want to get angle R, send these both over here, then you will get, then what will you get? This will become positive after sending it to the right hand side. So positive NCM, this will become negative minus NIM. That is nothing but your angle R. So that is what is given here. Angle R is NCM minus NIM. Now what are we doing is, we are substituting whatever tan values we have got in our equations. So we are taking the Snell's law. If we take Snell's law, what is it? Sin I by sin R is equal to n to 1. Sin I, if we take, so it's basically sin divided by sin R is equal to n to 1. This was the Snell's law, and n to 1 is nothing but n2 divided by n1. So they just have cross multiplied. So n1 sin I will be equal to n2 sin R. Now as I said, we are considering the angles to be really small, then we can approximate sin I value as I, sin R value as R. So n1 into I is equal to n2 into R. For both of I and R, we have already written in this way. Now tan NOM value we got as Mn by OM, so Mn by OM. Then NCM value is Mn by MC. Because we are approximating it to NCM, because it's a small angle, no need to write tan. So directly NCM, NOM values we have substituted. Here also NCM and NIM values we have substituted. Now put that in these values. So N1I is equal to N2R, you will get in this way. After writing the values for I and R, N1 into angle I, which we got as, after taking from the tan values, we got as Mn divided by OM plus Mn divided by MC is equal to, we got N2R. So N2 into R values, after calculating, we got it as Mn divided by MC minus Mn divided by Mi. Now Mn we can take out of the bracket, Mn we can take out of the bracket, all the Mn's will get cancelled. Because if you take out of the bracket, if you send Mn over here, then Mn by Mn is simply 1. So over here you can multiply it now. We will see what is OM and MC according to the image. What is OM? OM is nothing but object distance, which is U. and we know it's towards the left, meaning according to sign convention we have to write negative u. So it is simply going to be n1 by negative u. This n1 I'm multiplying here also, because here it is nothing, it's just 1 left, here also 1 left. So n1, what is mc now? mc is nothing but radius of curvature. Towards the right it is, so it will be positive. So it will simply be plus n1 divided by r is equal to, here also nothing is left, 1 is there, 1 is there, I'll multiply n2 with both. mc is again nothing but r only, we have already substituted. Here also mc is there, so I'll substitute r, n2 divided by r. Now what is mi? mi is nothing but image distance, which is v, and negative sign is here, because of this negative sign we'll put, and n2 divided by I. Now simply we will send this to this side and r over here. So if we send n2 towards that side, this is actually negative, it will turn positive. So what will happen? n2 will become positive in the left hand side. This will remain as it is, minus n1 divided by u. This is image distance, so we will write it as v. We can simply write it as v is equal to, n2 by r will be as it is in the right hand side, but I will transpose this to the right hand side. This is positive, so it will turn negative, negative n1 by r. This is our formula. So whenever they might give the values of refractive index or radius of curvature and they tell you to find the image distance, object distance, you have to use this formula. n2 by v minus n1 by u, n2 by v minus n1 by u, n2 minus n1 divided by r. Because denominator is same, you can write it together. So this is giving us the relation between the object distance, image distance, and the refractive index. So this is how, when a spherical surface is between the two media and refraction is happening. So they might ask these kind of questions. Suppose like light from a point source in air falls on the spherical glass surface. If it is not spherical, they will just mention a glass slab. Then you can follow normal refraction through plane interface. Otherwise they will mention like this, then remember this formula. Refractive index is 1.5, it is given for the spherical glass surface. Radius of curvature 20 cm is given. The distance of this light source, basically it is acting like an object, so it is 100 cm. Then how will you find the image position, image distance? So we can use this formula, we have all the values. First is object distance, it is 100 centimeters. It's always negative because it's towards the left side. And we don't know the image distance, and radius of curvature 20 centimeter is given, and it's because towards the right side it will be positive. And over here n1, basically air they're talking about, air refractive index is 1, and for the refractive index of the second medium, that is spherical glass surface, they have given it as 1.5. Simply substitute the values. So it was given n2 by v, n2 is nothing but 1.5 divided by v, and this is negative u. So because we are putting negative 100 over here, negative will get cancelled, it will become positive. n1 is nothing but 1 by 100 is equal to n2 minus n1, 1.5 minus 1, 0.5 divided by radius of curvature. If you're going to take the LCM and calculate, we will get the image distance as 100 centimeter. Now we have seen through a normal spherical surface. Now let us look through a lens. So how is this happening? Here if we see, this is the general case that is happening, but to derive we have to break it into two parts. So here object is there, and here image is forming. Light is traveling like this, it is getting refracted through a lens. Previously it was a spherical surface. Now because we already know about the spherical surface, we are breaking it into two spherical surface. First is this left hand side, then this right side. So that is what these two images, first left and then right. We are observing each case properly so that it will be easier for us to get to know what actually is happening over here. So general case, it is easy to understand. Okay, light ray is going, it's getting refracted and image is formed over here. normal image distance, object distance. But now we will consider it into two different parts to derive the lens maker's formula. So how is that happening? First we will consider this scenario where we are considering the left side. So object, and over here it is not the final image that is formed. Only by this particular side, one spherical surface of the lens, what is happening we are going to see. So object will be as it is there only, and light ray comes, it gets refracted, and over here one image is forming. As usual, normal we will draw through the center of curvature. Between the incident ray and normal you get the angle of incidence. Between the refracted ray and the normal you're getting angle of refraction. And you're naming everything as 1 1 because you're dealing with the first spherical surface over here. This is not like a final thing that you're getting, that's why. This is like intermediate process, you can think. And this is the radius of curvature when we talk about this particular surface. Now this image will act like a virtual object because still this lens is there, this other lens is there. For this, the object will be the image of the first spherical surface. So whatever image the first spherical surface is forming, it will act like an object for the second spherical surface. This is very important to note. So this second spherical surface, we are not considering the object over here as O, because this is the object. I1, which is the image formed by the first spherical surface, will act like an object. Rays going, normal drawn, angle of incidence, angle of refraction, and finally this image we are getting, we have seen in the first scenario, I. This is how the image is forming. So first there is one spherical surface, it is undergoing refraction, light ray, it will form one image. That image will further act like an object for the second spherical surface and finally give us the final image. Now one thing to remember, sign conventions generally only you can think left meaning it's negative, right meaning it's positive, as we have seen before. But over here we will consider this as negative though it is right side, because we know whenever object is there and there itself image is also forming, because here we are considering this as object and that side only image is also forming, meaning it will be mostly like real image, and it will be like a negative because the distances should be considered negative. Whenever we were seeing any sort of mirror where the object is kept, there only image is forming, meaning we got real and inverted images, and we were considering the object and image distance both to be negative. Because that scenario is occurring over here, though it is towards the right, we are considering the sign conventions for object and image distances as negative over here. But radius of curvature, don't worry, it will remain the same. Because it's towards the left, it will be treated as negative only. Focal length, radius of curvature, it you don't have to bother about it. They can be negative if they're left and it can be positive if it is right. Only object and image distance will be considered negative in this particular scenario. So we will apply whatever formula we have just derived for both the surfaces. What formula we have derived is N2 so N2 divided by V minus N1 divided by U is equals to N2 minus N1 divided by R. So for first surface, let us apply this. First surface, what is the image distance? First surface, what is the image distance? It is BI1. Here is the image, so we can write it as BI1. So instead of V, we can put it as BI1. Because it's towards the right, we can consider it as positive. Then object distance U. Object distance U is OB, and it has to be considered negative because it's towards the left. So I can simply make it positive because negative will become positive, and this is OB. Now what will be the radius of curvature? Radius of curvature in this case, it would be BC1. So we can simply write BC1 in this scenario. and it is positive because it's towards the right. Now this is one scenario that we have got over here. Now for the second reflecting surface, let us write. For second reflecting surface, if you see, it is in this scenario, isn't it? Because we have derived when the surface, spherical surface was like this. Now it has become the opposite manner. So we will slightly change the formula over here. How will we change? We will just interchange this n2 and n1. So instead of writing n2 by v, I will write n1 by v minus n2 by u is equals to n1 minus n2 divided by r. Because it has just become opposite, right? The surface has just become opposite in this manner. So that's why we are interchanging the n1 and n2 values. Now here if we see the image distance is di. This is the final image. di1 will become the object distance because I1 is acting like an object. So di1 will become the object distance. Di, this is our final image. This is the image formed by the spherical surface. So that will be considered as image distance, and r2, that is dc2, will be the radius of curvature. Now let us see this. For image distance, it was di. Again, though it is towards the right, I am considering it as negative because both the object and image are at the same side. Then real inverted image used to form if we normally consider one mirror. Then we used to consider everything to be negative. So here I will consider negative di. So then it will become negative n1 divided by di. Negative will get cancelled. It will become positive n2 divided by di1. Radius of curvature also we will consider negative, like as usual when it comes to the left hand side. So because it is negative, if I add negative over here, if you multiply the negative sign, what will it become? Negative into negative, positive. Positive n2 I will get, and negative into n1 I'll get negative n1. So they will get interchanged, divided by our r was dc2. So now consider this one, this equation and this equation. If we consider, if you look over here, n2, here also n2, di1 and bi1, di1, bi1, both are same. bi1 is also like the object is like it is forming the image, so it is image distance. Here it just becomes object distance, but bi1 and di1 both are same. So if I will be able to cancel them, it will be easier for me. So if I have to cancel them, one should become of negative, isn't it? So I'll simply multiply negative sign over here. So negative into negative will become positive, negative into negative will become negative. So I can easily cancel this now. Now we can add this. If I'm adding, n1 can be taken as common over here because here also n1, here also n1. So n1 as common into, it will become 1 upon OB plus 1 upon di. Here in both the scenarios, n2 minus n1 is equal. It's common. So I can take it as common outside the bracket. n2 minus n1 as common in both the equation. So it's 1 by bc2. It's 1 by bc. It's 1 by bc1. Okay. So it's 1 by bc1 plus 1 by dc2. So after cancelling off, because di1 is same as bi1 and I have multiplied with negative sign, so this has become negative, that has become positive. We have cancelled both of them. Then what is happening? I have added both the equations. So n1 was common, so I took it common out, and 1 by OB 1 by DI I have written as such is equal to n2 minus n1 was common, so I have taken it outside the bracket, 1 by BC1 plus 1 by DC2 written as it is. Now we will see what are this OB, what are this DI according to the image. Are they image distance, are they object distance, what are they, and we will substitute accordingly. So what is OB over here? OB is actually the object distance. So let us imagine this object is kept at infinity, so that I'll exactly know where image will form. Image will be nothing but formed at focus only. So that will, so I can write image distance that time as a focal length. So that's why OB object distance, I'll consider it to be infinity. If I consider it to be infinity, then DI is nothing but image distance. So image, where should it form? Finally, if the object is at infinity, final image where should it form? At focus. So that focus, if it is forming at focus, from pole if I'm taking the measure, the image distance will nothing but be principal focal length. So focal length I can write off here, represented by small f. What is BC1? BC1 is nothing but R1. So we will substitute this value as R1, DC2, R2. Again, I told to consider this side as negative, but that doesn't mean that this is R2, it is towards the left, so it should be positive. No, for radius of curvature, focal length, you will follow proper convention only. So that's why we'll consider it as negative. So here it will become negative R2. So I can change off here the sign as negative, and instead of DC2 I can write it as R2. So that's it. Now what is happening over here? 1 by infinity nothing but can be considered as 0. Here n1 is there. Here n1 is there. n1 into 1 by f only is left because this has become 0 now. So n1 into 1 by f will be n1 divided by f is equal to, this will be as it is. Now what will I do? I will divide this entire equation by n1. So if I do left hand side, after multiplying it's n1 by f, so if I divide it by again n1, this will get cancelled. In left hand side I will have 1 by f. Right hand side also let me divide. So if I divide this, I'll divide by n1, this also I'll divide by n1. n1 get cancelled, this will become 1. n2 by n1 can be written like this, n2 1 minus 1. So that's it. That is the formula where you're gonna write the final formula as 1 by f is equal to n2 1 minus 1 into 1 by R1 minus 1 by R2. This is the lens maker's formula for a convex lens. Now if it is for concave lens, what will happen? Simply interchange these both, 1 by R2 minus 1 by R1, and we know that for concave lens the focal length will be negative. Always remember, convex lens focal length will be positive, for concave lens focal length will be negative. So if you don't write minus sign here and 1 by R1 minus 1 by R2, this will become a convex lens. But if they mention concave lens in the formula, interchanges 1 by R2 minus 1 by R1, and here you have to write negative sign. Then you have it for concave lens. So if you have to understand why is R1 and R2 interchanging like that, see, for concave lens, this is how concave lens is going to look. Focal length is going to be negative, because here two principal focuses are there, but let's see which we are considering. So if it is going parallel, it should pass through focus. Here you cannot directly draw through this focus. Actually it is a diverging one, so it will diverge. If you produce this back, then you will understand, okay, it is actually passing through focus. So parallel through focus, not directly like this we are drawing, because we are taking from this focus. So here we cannot draw the solid line, we can show it with a dotted line over here. Now because left side we are considering, it will be considered negative. This is a concave lens, that's why principal focus is going to be negative. But here if I take a convex lens, parallel through focus, we are focusing on this right side principal focus only. So the focal length will be positive. That is the first reason why I am writing negative 1 by f when it comes to concave lens. Now second thing, why am I interchanging these both? Now see this properly. Concave lens is like this. So in this direction is the first reflecting surface, like this. It's like a concave one. Concave mirror it should look. So out of these two, which one will be the first one? This one. The first one. First reflecting surface. That means this will be named as what? R1. And it is towards the left. So R1 should be negative. That's why R1 is negative. Next surface will become R2 for a concave lens. Positive. So R2 should be positive. That's why we are interchanging the formula accordingly. If you forget it also, you can draw the image and see. If you draw the concave lens, you are able to see that this concave side is the first reflecting surface. If that is the side, then this side should be considered first. Then instead of 2 everywhere, you will write 1, because this will become the first reflecting surface when it becomes to concave lens. So that is how it is interchanging. Now from that we will derive one more formula, lens formula, very simple one only. So we will see this step again, once again. So infinity meaning nothing but object distance, I said. So what will I do is, instead of taking it as infinity, we will take it as u. Because the general formula we have learnt in our younger grades, if we remember, 1 by v minus 1 by u is equal to 1 by f, we learnt, right? Mirror formula, lens formula, this is lens formula. So to derive that, instead of infinity, take u only. That is nothing but object distance. I said object is kept at infinity. So again, towards the left object will be, that's why negative u. Then if object is at infinity, where will it form? At focus it should form. Then what will that be? Image distance. So plus 1 upon v. Here n2 by n1 can be written as n21 minus 1. Then this will be as it is, 1 by r1 minus 1 by r2. Now what we will do is, here n1 gets cancelled because we are basically dividing the entire equation by n1. So here also it will be divided by n1. So here n1 is not there. n1 by n1 cancelled and you get 1 over here. Okay. So after placing the u and v values and after dividing the entire equation by n1, you get this. Now what is this? n21 minus 1 into 1 by r1 minus 1 by r2. That is nothing but what? That is nothing but 1 by f. Here they should have given it. Yeah. n21 minus 1, 1 by r1 minus 1 by r2 is nothing but 1 by f. So can I substitute that value over here? So here if you substitute 1 by f value, then what is over here? 1 by v minus 1 by u. That's it. We got the lens formula. So 1 by v minus 1 by u is equal to 1 by f. That is what finally we are deriving. So we have derived it is for the real image by convex lens, and the formula will be valid for the convex lens as well as the concave lens for real or virtual image. Whatever image it is forming, whatever lens it is, this will be valid. Only for this scenario you are changing minus 1 by f, and here you are interchanging in case of concave lens. But here it can be applicable for everything. Only keep in mind, for concave lens, again if they are giving focal length, you have to consider it as negative and see where the object, where the images are placed and what is their distance. Always remember the sign convention. Now when it comes to lenses, two foci will be there, and a double convex lens, they will be equidistant from the optical center. This point is called as optical center. They will be equidistant from that, and the focus, wherever light source or wherever object is placed, now that focus will be called as first focal point. and the other side it will be called as second focal point. And whenever we want to get the image, we can in principle take any two rays, just like a mirror. We can take two rays wherever they're converging or wherever they're appearing to meet, their image is forming. So here also general rules are there. This will be a convex lens. If it is parallel, it should pass through focus. If it is passing through optical center correctly from the center without any deviation, it will pass. If you're making it pass through focus, it should emerge parallel. So here three rays are given. You can take any two rays, make them meet, and their image will be formed. For concave lens, parallel meaning through focus. Don't draw it like this, because for concave always use the left side ka focals. That's why the focal length is also negative. So just draw dotted lines, and then this is diverging. That's why it should get diverged like this. And if it is passing through focus also I'm representing through dotted lines, not directly drawing from here and then parallel. So it should be like a opposite to convex lens. That's why we are drawing dotted lines. Through focus meaning go to the second focus. Parallel then passing through focus meaning go to the first focus. So parallel through focus, here directly you are drawing. From here parallel through focus meaning focus on the first one. Then if you're making it pass through the focus, again draw the dotted lines, then it should emerge parallel. Through optical center meaning directly without any deviation it should pass. So like that we are these rules are as we have studied in our 10th grade only. Now magnification also same thing we can say. Magnification formula for mirror one, we used to write minus v upon u. Here we will write v upon u, h dash by h. And same thing, if it is going to be a real one, you will get a negative. M will be negative, meaning it will be real inverted image. If M, this value is entirely positive, then you will get a virtual and erect image. Now they're asking a question. So there is a magician who takes a glass lens with this much refractive index and make it disappear when it is put in a liquid. So what is the refractive index of the liquid? Could the liquid be water? Now generally if it is disappearing, meaning the image is not being formed, the light is not bending. So basically what is happening, like we studied light, when refractive index of the second medium is more, light will bend towards the normal and image will be formed somewhere there, so that the apparent position we are able to see. Or if the refractive index of the second medium is less as compared to the first medium, it will move away from the normal, then somewhere else image will form apparent position where it appears to be and we are able to see the image. So when n/1 is greater than 1, that we will write like this. Basically n2 by n1 we are saying. n/1, if it is greater than 1, meaning numerator should be greater than the denominator, then only it is possible. If you put 4 here, if you're going to put more larger number than 4, then 0 point something will come which will be less than 1. So if you want it to be greater than 1, numerator should be more. That means second medium is denser, it will move towards the normal. Similarly, if n/1 is less than 1, denominator will be greater, first medium will be more denser, so in the second medium it will move away from the normal. Like that, if n/1 is exactly equal to 1, it is actually not bending towards the normal or away from the normal. In such a scenario, n/1 is equal to 1, meaning n2 is equal to n1. That's it. If n/1 is nothing but n2 by n1 is equal to 1, cross multiply it, you will get n2 is equal to n1. In denominator nothing is there, meaning it's 1 only. Cross multiply, you will get this. So if both the refractive indexes are equal, the light is not bending away or towards the normal, then that apparent image which is there, it is not forming. So it feels like it has disappeared. So that is what we are saying. The refractive index of liquid also should be 1.47. It should be equal. Then only n1 will be equal to n2. Then only that lens will disappear. That bending of light ray is not happening. Image is not forming. So we are not able to see. And 1 by f is 0. F is towards the infinity. They are telling using this formula only that we have derived right now. So if n2 is equal to n1, then what will happen? n/1 is n2 by n1. So n2 by n1 will become 1 because both are equal. That's what we have just said over here. So 1 minus 1 is 0. Entire thing will become 0. 1 by f is 0. When 1 by f is 0, we can say the denominator is infinity. 1 by infinity is 0, right? So like that's why they're saying 1 by f will be infinity. Then where is the image even forming? So we won't be able to see that lens. And while comparing this refractive index, we just said liquid should have the refractive index of 1.47, so it can't be water. It should be something like a glycerin. Then only we are just comparing whatever liquids refractive index is 1.47, that liquid can be used, water cannot be used because the refractive index of water is around like 1.3, so I can't use that one. Now power of a lens, very small topic, nothing but it is the measure of convergence or divergence when a lens introduces in the light falling on it. So basically how much that lens is able to converge or diverge. Diverge meaning go away from that point, converge meaning come towards that one point. So convex lens it will converge, concave lens it is diverging the rays. Concave lens is diverging, meaning it is moving away like this from a particular point that is focus. So that power is basically that measure, the degree, how much it is able to converge or diverge the rays. Now, whenever there is a lens of shorter focal length, bends the incident light more. That's why we will be preferring the lenses to have shorter focal length, so that it will make the light rays bend more. Obviously, if principal focus is focal length to be less, meaning principal focus should be more closer, then bending will become more by more angle. No, if it is far away, it will just be like that. But if it's nearby, then focal length will reduce, then more bending will happen. That means more power. So whenever you want more power for lenses, take a shorter focal length. While converging it in case of convex lens and diverging for concave lens. For convex lens it will converge more, for concave lens it will diverge more if you take a shorter focal length when principal focus is going to be more nearby. The power P of a lens is defined as the tangent of the angle by which it is going to converge or diverge. So this is basically if this lens was not kept over here, this would have just passed straightly, but it is bending. So how much it is bending, if you want to know, that is this angle of deviation. Generally we will say, we will represent this del value for deviation. So anytime you want to get to know that angle, first always imagine, suppose lens is not there, how will this light ray move? It will move straightly only, it won't deviate like this, it won't bend like this. But because lens is kept, it has bent like this, so you're drawing dotted lines over here, how it would have passed without the lens, and you are measuring this angle. Now these both are parallel, these two lines which I have drawn are parallel. Then if these both are parallel, this will become alternate interior angles. Can you see this is the transversal? Whenever parallel rays are there and this is the transversal, this will be the alternate interior angles, they will become equal. That is what is happening here also, alternate interior angles. So because this is del, this is also del. Then tan del will be what? Opposite divided by adjacent. I am taking this as h. Then this will be what? Nothing but focal length. So for unit distance, I am considering it. That's why we are considering it as 1. That's what they're saying, right? So because if we are considering power P, it is basically tangent, meaning taking tan of the angle by which it is converging or diverging, meaning how much deviation is like this, and of a light parallel to the principal axis where it is falling at a unit distance from optical center. Optical center is O. So this is unit distance at which the light is falling. Unit distance, so we will consider it as 1. So tan del is 1 by f. And for smaller angles, you no need to write tan because tan del will be equal to del. So you can write it off this, and this is nothing but power. That's what we are defining it. So power will be 1 by f. Make sure f to be written in meter. Then you can give the power SI unit as diopter. So whenever focal length, to ensure to be in meter so that you can write the power in diopters. Now again, power will be positive for a convex lens because I said focal length should be positive for a convex lens, and negative for a diverging lens, meaning concave lens, because focal length will be negative for that. So if whenever suppose someone is prescribing plus 2.5 diopters power, that means you need to buy convex lens because it is positive. And if they're asking focal length, you can put this formula. 2.5 is equal to 1 by f, meaning f will be equal to 1 divided by 2.5. Then you will convert it into centimeters, then you're getting 40 centimeters. If negative power they are giving, that means it is a concave lens because focal length should be negative. Generally you can give it in meters. If you want to convert it into centimeters, also it is fine. But whenever they're giving focal length as centimeters and they're asking you to calculate the power, please change it to meters, because you want to give the power is a result of diopters. You want to write this much diopters this power is, then better convert it into centimeters, divide it by 100 first, and then put in this formula and then give power in diopters. That's it. So I will solve this question and further these other topics in the next video. So if you like my way of teaching, please like my video, and if you want to solve any more questions or any doubts you have, please feel free to leave comment in the comment section, and subscribe guys. Thank you. See you in the next video. Bye.